We are proud of being black and of our black heritage. But white America does not accept the concept that this is a multiracial society. It has never accepted the fact that there are black people, brown people, yellow people here alongside them. They've always looked upon America as being white. And hence, all of its propaganda is directed at us to convince us that somehow or the other we must become white before they will accept us. Even a publication like Ebony, with a subscription of something like 800,000 Negro subscribers, is written for what we call the low visibility Negro. You know, the light-skinned Negro. With a rare exception, Ebony never features the activities of the black man in this country. It's always that low visibility, you know, the almost white Negro. And how you, too, can be this way one day if you use some of the skin lighteners that they run in their advertisement. I mean, when it runs ads like Dr. Fred Palmer's skin whiteners, it is denial of the fact that black people exist. That somehow or the other, in order for us to exist, we must resort to using hair straighteners so our hair won't be kinky. That somehow if we could only hide our blackness, we can then become part of this thing called the American melting pot or the American scene.
The problem is the standard for discussion is set by the whites, and a lot of Negroes now don't want to accept that standard anymore. They say, we're going to have our own standard. I think that the hookup comes if you can develop a whole new standard where whites and Negroes can have a dialogue. Not either one of those are acceptable anymore. I mean, whites aren't going to accept Negro standards, and Negroes no longer want to be white. So that clear thing is to develop a whole new standard, and then everybody move toward that so there can be some kind of dialogue.
You know, from a child up, I always, at first, I wanted to be white, you know, because my family was 20 of us, 6 girls and 14 boys. We would make 50 and 60 bales of cotton, gather all that cotton, and we wouldn't have food in the wintertime. So I figured then the white people must be right. But as I got older, I said, no, it's something wrong. And if I ever get a chance, I'm going to do something about it. I never will forget, Mr. Wilkins came to me one day from the NAACP that I found out at that national convention was the National Association for the Advancement of Certain People. But it didn't include us in Mississippi. And he came to me and told me, he said, you people are ignorant. You don't know anything about politics. You put your point over. Why don't you pack up and go home? Well, at that time, I imagined that he was being pressured.
I think Martin Luther King is the logic of the Negro leader. And he's trying to get Negroes into the middle class, I mean, the body politic, which ultimately is to get them into the mainstream of American life. Now, Malcolm said there was something wrong with the mainstream of American life, and there was something wrong with not getting in there. I mean, why get in the middle of a cesspool? That's my own attitude.
I'm thinking about in terms of a better and a greater world for all people, and we can't do that by me in one corner doing what I can do to hurt you, and you in the other corner doing the same thing against me.
So you go ahead and vote. So what? So you vote for a senator, and the senator's constituency is either lobbyists who represent big business, or lobbyists who represent himself. So what? So you can vote.
I am interested in developing a third political all-black party. Once we in the black community can establish our political party, then we can negotiate with our so-called white allies who have developed their own political party simultaneously along with us.
I'm not concerned about just representing black people, because we have poor white that's in the same category with the poor Negro. Well, I want to see a change for the people. And if we can get a good white man, all right, we'll put him in office. But I don't want it all black and I don't want it all white.
Given the rapid advancement of the technology in the country today, every black child over 10 is already obsolete in terms of the needs and demands of the technology. So some kind of dole system would have to be set up where we would be supported for the rest of our lives, while all of the efforts, concentration in terms of education, motivation be placed on the black children between the ages of 1 and 10, so that they will have the equipment to enter into the technology that's America. There's been a lot of talk and a lot of shuffling of papers, but in terms of the plight of the black man in this country, there's been no perceptible change, primarily because the white man has no reason to. He enjoys the highest standard of living. His government enjoys dominance in world affairs. Why should he turn to me now and say, I want to share part of my good fortune with you? He has no reason to.
I think there's going to be violence, see, because there already has been. I mean, when people try to free themselves, they kill Negroes in the South all the time. The Negro man has been emasculated and destroyed by the fact that every time he stood up, he got just snuffed out right there. So I don't think there's any question but that there's going to be violence and brutality. But my attitude is that the brutality and the violence shouldn't become the reason that you want to be free. But that's a very personal thing, the freedom is. See, the question isn't what is freedom to me, it's what price freedom. Because sometimes the price that you pay for freedom is the very thing that makes you a slave again. That's what I think happened in Russia in 1917. But I know that there's going to be violence. I mean, I think it gets blurred, especially the individual. If I face you violently, see, who knows where that violence began? See, I mean, I might, if I face you with a gun and I got orders to kill you and you got orders to kill me, then we can't really deal with each other. Well, you're a target and I'm a target. So you can't really talk about that. But you can talk about the larger thing, the much more universal thing. The reason that you're there, see, is really not to kill, but to free.
Let us take a look at Harlem, 1964, when approximately 20 Molotov cocktails were exploded in Harlem. And in 1965 in August in Watts, Los Angeles, 2,000 Molotov cocktails were exploded. I think that we are developing more sophistication, and I think in the next uprising, and I suspect it will probably come either in Washington, D.C. or in another unnamed city, where you're going to find 5,000 Molotov cocktails used.
I've never thought in terms of violence, of all the things that have been gained by people fighting and going through blood for it. They don't have anything, you know. This, to me, it doesn't make sense. If I hate you because you hate me, I'm no better than you are. And all we want to do is to make these people understand that we are human beings and we can work together.
This was post almost a decade ago. Now, my question about this is that have things changed since they did this interview? Here we are now in the 21st century, a whole new generation, but yet and still we still dealing with the same disparity, still dealing with the same racial disparity. It makes one question. It makes one question the things that our previous leader did, like Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Rosa Parks, Marcus Garvey, all these leaders of the past. It make you question that. It make you question that everything they did, everything they sacrificed, did they do it in vain? What about Harriet Tubman? Everything that our previous ancestors did, how they did it in vain? I mean, I'm just sitting here, just thinking about this, trying to just figure out what needs to happen, trying to figure out what role can I personally play in this, because I understand everything that's going on. I understand everything that's going on in Minneapolis. And the thing about it is that I just don't know, you know. I don't know if the next time I step out of these walls, get into my car, I don't know if that'll be the very last time I do that. Because all it takes is just one stop from a law enforcement officer who resembles that same type of racial behavior, who will look upon me instead of me as being human, regardless of the color of my skin, but look at me as an animal, something that's disposable, something that you could just easily hunt and kill. You know, when I think about this, I even think about my son, my children, even my future wife and her son and her daughter, my brother and my cousins, my friends. You know, all it takes is that one time, that one stop, that one person who resembles that behavior. Now, am I talking just to try to bring fear or anything like that? Absolutely, because at the end of the day, I don't fear nothing. I have no reason to fear. But however, as being human, I do have concerns though. So, what is it that we need to do? What is it that need to happen for people like that to realize and understand that this has to end? And they don't have to end with me or any other African American in the United States, or that matter. It ends with the Caucasian and white Americans who feel that they're so entitled, who feel that they're so superior. And that's the issue, you know what I'm saying? Now, give and take, I understand that, not all Caucasians or, whites are like that. I understand that. I know many of them who are not like that at all. General people who respect people, not because of the color of their skin, but because they're human, period. You know what I'm saying? And they have sympathy and empathy and understand that. You know what I'm saying? And I get that, It ain't no problem with that. Then let me clear this thing up too. A lot of people who's like upset and stuff like that, they're not upset at every white people in America. They're only upset at the white supremacy mentality. They only upset at this entitlement that's been going on for centuries and centuries and centuries. That's what they upset about. That's what they fed up about. Now I know I've been looking at different people posts and stuff like that, and some people trying to figure out why African Americans is taking this so serious. I'm letting you know why we take it so serious. It's because we've been dealing with this type of behavior for centuries. We've been fighting, being diplomatic as much as possible, doing many of us doing our very best to be law-abiding citizens. Many of us even participate and serve in law enforcement, serve in the military as well, you know what I'm saying, to show that we for this country. But instead, we have many who are in these positions who have that supremacy mentality, have that supremacy spirit over them, you know what I'm saying? Where they feel they're just so entitled that we're expendable. So just like I said, even through this through these interviews in the past that I showed y'all. At the end of the day, we could come up with solutions all day long, but at the end of the day, it takes you. And I'm talk about my Caucasian brothers and sisters, my white brothers and sisters. It takes you to finally realize and take that stand and call out your other brothers, call out your other sisters, your cousins, your aunts, or whoever it is who resemble this type of behavior. Call them out, check them on it. Because if not, they're going to continue to feel like they're entitled. They're going to continue to feel like that they could do anything they want to do. They're going to feel like since they could get into these certain positions, they could do whatever they want to do. Because they know that at the end of the day, they're going to get over it. They're going to they're not going to be prosecuted fairly at all. They're going to be prosecuted with favor behind them. So it got the end. And all I'm asking, even as a therapist, as a sociologist, even what I'm asking is you, white American, how about y'all stand up and help us? If y'all really for us, then be for us. Help us. Help us deal with this supremacy mentality once and for all, where we can be in harmony. I believe that we can be in harmony, but we got to get past this supremacy mentality. We got to. If not, then this is what's going to happen every time. Another one, African American, going to get shot. Another city is going to riot and protest, going to become in civil unrest. Then who else will probably happen? Civil war, we don't know. We don't want it to happen. But however, we just looking for peace. However way we could get it possible. Last but not least, just like I say, I'm a father. I have a son. I have daughters. I have other sons and daughters. I have cousins. I have nephews, brothers, sisters, a mother, grandmothers, grandfathers, everyone that's around me and stuff like that. And all it takes is that one person, that one stop to end their life. I want y'all to think about that. And let us know what you're going to do to help us. Because if not, then I don't know what to tell you. My fellow brothers and sisters, my fellow brother African American brothers and sisters, I could just tell y'all is that I'm with y'all, and y'all continue to fight fate with faith, and we will get through this.